The tide is turning, and don't get me wrong, I'm happy with it. CNN even admits something on live air yesterday. And to be honest with you, they absolutely cannot stand Trump. They're proactively working against him. But they did admit one thing that we're going to talk about. Also, we're going to talk about the fact that China just warned America to stay out of their business. Now, that's something I think that we should do. We should stay out of everybody's business, and everybody should stay out of ours, and we should just learn to grow our country back. But we just did something. Biden and Harris and their administration just did something with Taiwan that's got China very upset. And remember, they're preparing for war. And here we are sticking our nose in an issue that we shouldn't. We'll talk about that. Also, Trump packs Madison Square Garden out. Have you noticed some of the biggest rallies he's had is in New Jersey, New York, and some of the most liberal states? Are we seeing a tide shift to a point where people are saying, wow, we got to give this guy a shot because I want my gas and groceries affordable again. I want to be healthy again. I don't want war again. That's things to think about. And then lastly, we're going to discuss something that's very important. Truthfully, the Democrats did get their way about one thing. And sadly, if we don't change the trajectory of America, we're going to keep going down the exact path that they want us to go down. We're going to talk about a disturbing article that shows exactly what the Democrats' plan is. Let's dive into these stories today. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, that's okay, but let us know what you think about the content of today's video. It means the world to me that you share our content, that you give us thumbs up, because it tells our platform that this is important and this message needs to be spread. Guys, we're getting close to the end of the month. Remember, we do a giveaway each and every month, hundreds of dollars worth of giveaway. All it takes is, again, you subscribing. It costs nothing. Give us a thumbs up, and that way we know you are entered into the giveaway. Comment below. Tell us how long you've been subscribed. Tell us what you think about the video. Tell us if you disagree. I think when we talk in the comments, it helps us grow as, to me, a community to be better, to be wiser as we try to go through this chaotic world. Now let's talk about the stories of the day. CNN admits Trump could win the populist vote. Now for Republicans, that's a big deal, a big flipping deal. Here's why. For the majority, the Electoral College keeps America into a point where it's at least a little bit more balanced. I think they could probably do better, and I think the cities have way too much weight in these states. But I digress. The Electoral College is almost the best answer for that. A lot of times, Republicans win by the Electoral College and can't win by the populist vote because of the cities and the heavy metro areas that are Democratic ran, which, again, blows my mind because most cities are falling to pieces and they become like true Hades, and people just keep living in the same squalor they're in and keep electing the same people and blaming it on the Republicans. But that's not what the video is about today. But CNN came out and said that he could possibly win it. Now, this is a big ordeal because this is something that doesn't take place in modern elections, especially for a Republican to win. They actually say for Democrats to win an election, the Electoral College in actuality tends to be, the populist vote needs to be like a 2 or 3 or 4% above average for a Democrat to win, because they're going to win the cities, they're going to win the liberal states, but they need to win the heartland. They need to win middle America, normal Main Street American. And they said if a Democrat wins, they have to win the populist vote, and usually they need to win by around 4%, even 3%, somewhere around there. Well, now CNN is coming out and saying live on air that Kamala is failing and that Trump is actually possibly going to win the populist vote. He's pulling out all the stops, and a lot of these liberal states are losing those votes, or they're disinterested in Kamala. You know, Trump went to a barbershop the other day and made a big deal and again gained a lot of support. A lot of African Americans embraced that because these barbers were just being honest, the fact that the Main Street was not helping them out. Kamala goes to another barbershop to kind of fit in, and it's as cringe as you could think. The more that she's in front of the camera, actually the worse it gets, like Biden said yesterday. I thought that was kind of funny. But CNN and MSNBC, they're spinning this Madison Square Garden event, and they're trying to make it like it's some terrible event, and it's racist, and it's all about fear and J6. They can spin it all they want. Go back and watch it. You're seeing Democrats, libertarians, conservatives, Christians, non-Christians, and the whole Republican movement. To me, it's a great representation of last night of the Madison Square Garden event, where you have all these people on one stage, and they're all saying one thing: we need our country back. The unity ticket that, even though as a strong conservative libertarian, we need a unity ticket to at least get back to normalcy, to at least get someone elected that's not gonna worry about killing children and sending our kids to war. If we get back to normalcy, I think the pendulum will swing, and the tide is turning. So CNN comes out and says, well, this rally was terrible, but he may win the populist vote. What it shows is that legacy media is so out of touch with Main Street Americans. Truthfully, most Americans see exactly what they want: lower gas, lower groceries, lower insurance, and just ableness to work and go home and be with their family. That's actually what people want. And the cities try to skew that, or liberals try to skew that, or Washington tries to skew that. Ultimately, I think people are coming around and seeing that Trump is the best option for that. And I would love to see him win over 40 states. I would love to see him win in a complete and utter landslide. And I hope that this happens, because I think then that way we'll know exactly what happens by November 6th, because it will be too big to rig. That's what I'd like to see. And even CNN and MSNBC, as much as they hate Trump, they have to admit to it, because the truth is actually what it is. And see, what they're doing is they don't want to lose too much credibility, so they have to tell you a little bit of truth with a lot of bit of propaganda. So instead of listening to them, just don't even listen to them, period. But I do think it's funny that they're all having to admit the truth now, and that Trump could possibly not only win the Electoral College, not only win a landslide, but could possibly win the populist vote as a populist Republican. That's huge. Now to the next story: China to U.S. How dare you? How dare you? And it's a Chinese warning to Americans. It says, Americans have sold $2 billion of weapons in the latest deal with Taiwan. Again, so Beijing is saying, what are you doing? This is a serious violation of our sovereignty. And remember, no matter which way you look at it, Taiwan and China are one and the same. China, even though Taiwan has some independence, they're still part of China. It's what's so crazy that America recognizes that. However, America also is selling arms deals and military aid to Taiwan to defend themselves from the mainland China. Here's the problem: it's not our flipping battle, and why are we putting our nose in it? Now, if people want to buy military grade equipment, hey, America should be able to sell it. I think that's capitalism. Here's the problem with it, though: we're trying to play both sides. We're trying to heed warnings from Taiwan and saying, hey, yeah, we want to help you, but at the same time we're wanting to go to Beijing and act like we're best friends with Xi. We can't do that, because then that makes us look like a prognosticator, and it makes us look like the one that's actually causing the ruffle in the waters. It's just like what we were doing with Ukraine and Russia. If they would have settled 2 years ago, less people would have died, and Ukraine would have probably had more land, and it would have all been over. But we put our nose in it, and therefore now Ukraine has less land. There's more people dead. Again, we put our nose in it to make it worse. Same way with Iran and Israel. Think about it. Iran was broke when Trump left. Well, we opened sanctions back up to where sanctions can't be done. We gave them cash, the Biden administration, to where Iran then started using these proxies to fight battles again, and therefore war breaks out. So do you see what I'm talking about? It's amazing that they'll push Trump as a dictator and fascist, and how he's going to be terrible for the world and terrible for America. All the while, we have a leader who just sold $2 billion worth of arms to Taiwan in an actually complete slap in the face to China. I don't like China. I could care less what China and Taiwan do. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. It's not my business. But when we put our nose in it, it involves us. It involves the American people. And why would we do that? What is our sole purpose of this? What is our purpose in dealing with North Korea and South Korea? What is our purpose in Ukraine and Russia? What is our purpose in the Middle East? If we had a strong leader, none of this would have took place, because people are intimidated by the power of America. But when weak leadership is put in, and all of a sudden the fact of no one respects us anymore, people do what they want to do, and dictators do what they want to do, and bad people do what they want to do, and now you're seeing it. And then we still want to stick our nose in it by trying to tell Ukraine not to agree. trying to send arms to Taiwan, telling South Korea stand firm, and also letting Iran have a lot of extra money to start their battles back. This is the cause of a bad administration, a weak administration. You know, in school we learn what cause and effect is. This is the cause, and now here's the effect. If we don't clean it up and pendulum swing and the tide turn, then we're going to see a massive all-out war. Just like I talked about yesterday. You have 4 places that could spark a national or international style war. And we're allowing these regions to flare up and us put our nose in it. NATO put its nose in it. UN put its nose in it. And then therefore chaos ensues. All-out war breaks out. If we just learn to stay out of it. So China's warning America, don't do this again. Now, what's the repercussions? I don't know. But our weak leaders in Delaware, the other leaders in a barbershop trying to not be cringy, and both of them are failing America. All right, lastly, probably the most serious thing that I want to talk about today, and this is the bad part, because again, even though we overturn Roe, there's more abortions done because they're sending out these kits and these pills from the government. So we win one battle, but ultimately they learn how to get around it. Here's the same thing with this. Here's a new report from Zero Hedge. It says Americans are more dependent on the government and government handouts than ever before, this new report shows. So even though we want to do better, even though the tide is turning, America has become more dependent on a broken system. And that broken system makes Americans broke, because guess what? They depend on Social Security. They depend on welfare. They depend on government insurance. They depend on government housing. They depend on all these things that government provides. Now, if you're on Social Security, this is not a hit to you. You've worked hard and you deserve what you've paid in. Actually, you've paid in more than what Social Security is going to give back, because that money ends up, when you die, it doesn't go to your family. It just ceases to exist. So it's a bad policy and a Ponzi scheme anyway. But what I'm saying is, it was supposed to be supplemental. Now people are having to live off of it because they don't have the money to build a personal retirement. So therefore, that the $800, $900, $1,000, $1,400 payment that you may get from Social Security, people are having to live off of it. Well, this report proves exactly what I'm talking about. It says payments from the government have become the fastest growing source of income for Americans, and this is troubling to me. A report from the Economic Innovation Group, a public policy research organization titled The Great Transformation, states that Americans have become substantially more dependent on the support from the government. So even Republicans, even conservatives, even libertarians, we tend to still lean on the government for help. And I'm not saying the government's not supposed to be emergency help, but we should not have a source of income or the public sector be covering all our needs. That's why I've told you before, I don't like subsidies, I don't like credits. I just want you to leave my money alone and let me have my own money to do what I want to do with my money. Instead of government taking it and then giving it back to you in some kind of gift. No, what it is they take your money and then they keep you subservient to the government handouts, and that's exactly what this is showing. It says that the state and national income coming to transfer payments more than doubling the last 50 years, meaning more people are not independent of the government. They are dependent on the system to take care of their everyday needs. According to the Federal Reserve data, government transfer payments increased from $70 billion in 1970 to more than $6 trillion just in 2020 during the lockdowns. It says, according to the EIG report, the government transfer payments were spread evenly among all Americans. They then received an annual payment of $11,500 per person in 2022. Again, just complete average of the money that we give. So, we laugh because conservatives and libertarians are against UBI, universal basic income. And we are. I'm against subsidies. But because we don't realize how many handouts we're getting, we're actually becoming more dependent on a system. Think about all the people in your life. And again, I'm not talking about if you've not paid into Medicare and Social Security. I'm not honing on you. What I'm saying is, we have built a life to where we spend the money that we have and then we go in debt to where we actually never build up enough money to take care of ourselves in retirement to then therefore have to rely on Social Security. Now that's not good. And then on top of that, if they cause more spending, cause more inflation, it makes it where you can't save the money and therefore you become dependent on the system because you need help. I think of all the kids that's on chips and all the kids that are on food stamps and all the families that are on food stamps. Is that necessarily bad? No. We want to help people that need help. But what we've done now is we've built a society to where they look to the government to help them first. Government was never there to help them first. They were helped last. Well, remember, Social Security payments haven't went up. So that shouldn't be helped first because remember, it's supplemental. It's actually not true enough money. However they take it from you, people don't put up enough money, and therefore we become dependent on that check coming in every month. Food stamps, again, if a family needs it, I want them to eat. I do. But if the program keeps growing like it's growing, then what we've done is built a UBI program or a socialistic country that basically says we want freedom, but ultimately we need the government to give us everything that we need. If the government is feeding you, medicating you, making sure that you have some source of income each and every month, then traditionally and technically you believe in a socialist government. Now you can get mad at me for saying that, but the truth be told, think about what I just said. If you live in a paid-for retirement home or paid for a government housing or Section 8 rental properties, or you live in some kind of government assistance, you live on their medicines, on their pharmaceutical help, on their insurances such as Obamacare, Medicaid, CHIPS programs, and then they're feeding you with EBT cards, food stamps, or something like that, some kind of school program. If your family is living off that, then truthfully, you're living off government money. Now here's the spin to it. Well, Colby, if they take all our money because of how bad the economy is, it's not our fault. To a point, I agree with you. So therefore, we have to turn on this regulation. We have to turn on the fact of overspending across the seas, because what that does is it inflates our dollar to where then it's not worth nearly as much and it doesn't have the buying power that it once did. But also, I put responsibility on you. We've lost responsibility as Americans. We have to learn to get on a budget. We have to learn to independently think to provide our food and to learn how to maybe side hustle and grow doing some other things to grow their income to be able to afford the things that we need to afford. Is insurance skyrocketing high and medical shouldn't cost as much as it does? You're exactly right. But you know what I do? And I'm going to tell you personally. I'm not sponsored by them. I just believe in it. I use a Christian healthcare, health sharing insurance. What's so funny is I own a business in my local town and I provide insurance for my staff. And guess what? I don't even partake of it because it's too pricey. I literally use a medical health share billing company where we come in together and we say, okay, we're going to pay everybody's bills. They allocate what needs to be paid and I pay a monthly fee for that. And then they cover mine if something happened. I've done that for almost all our marriage, Misty and I's marriage. Point on, we've been on Meta Share, a Christian care ministry, and it's private people helping other private people pay their bills. That's amazing, and it works. Now, is that the right answer for you? I don't know. But what I'm saying is if we don't learn to take responsibility, this socialist government that they've built is exactly what they wanted. You could say, well, it's their fault. They're causing inflation. They're spending money across the seas. Do you ever think that that's what they wanted? Because ultimately it makes you subservient to them. So therefore they tell you can't eat meat. You can't eat meat because you can't afford it. And they're not going to put it on their program for food stamps. What if I told you, well, you can't, what if they said, well, no, you can't get this kind of treatment, but you can get this kind of treatment? Well, if you're on their health care, then they're going to say that and you've got to abide by it. See, here's the problem. Am I mad at you for being on government programs? No. Here's the problem though. If we allow ourselves to be so encapsulated with what the government gives us and we're willing to take everything they give us, they're going to keep dishing it out and then you're going to become a dependent on their system. You know, my children, I have 6 kids. My kids are very good at going out and doing things. I have some that can clean. I have some that can mow the grass. I have some that can water animals. I have some that can milk cows. I have some that can fix their own food. But guess what? They're dependents under me, and I get to take care of them. I love it. I love being able to take care of them. I love spending money on them. I love doing things for them. That's why I work 1 or 2 or 3 jobs, because I want to make sure that I'm giving everything they need. They can't go out in the world at 10 years old and just make it. They can't go out at 12 years old or 4 years old or 16 years old and just make it. They need help from their parents. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. But once they get to a certain age, if I'm still giving my same kids at 25 and 30 and 35, if I'm still having to fix their food, if I'm still having to cut their grass, if they're still living in my home, I mean, it's not that it cannot be transitional, but if that's their whole life where they never have a job and they live at my home, then they become dependent under me, and then that becomes a crutch to them. They never become independent. They never see the responsibility. They never understand money. They never understand how to work. Because then I've given them so much, not just their 18 years, not just their 20 years, not just in hard times. I've then given them everything they've ever wanted. So now they've been spoiled to a system that means I've got to fend for them for the rest of their life and not for themselves. Now, this is not transition. This is not talking about someone going through hard times. This is what we've done. We've built a society to where they depend on the government to feed them, to medicate them, and to make sure they have housing. And when we do that, don't complain when they want to keep taking taxes out. Don't complain when they elect someone like Kamala Harris or Biden or Obama, because they're just building the system that they want to where you're more a servant to it. They're actually destroying the middle class when they do that. Now, that was a lot said. And I want you to understand that if you are on a fixed income or you are struggling day in, day out, listen, do all you can. You can only do what you can do. But if you're younger, start taking responsibility and start doing some things so that way you don't put yourself in a precarious situation as our government inflates it bigger. Now, here's the only other thing. You better vote, and you better make sure that Trump is going to win this election. Because if not, the dependency is going to keep on going through the roof. And when we're dependent on a system, that means they control you. Our goal is not to offend you. Our goal is to wake you up and say, look, we better vote. We better start taking responsibility. We better start doing better. Or we're going to be slaves to the system that we have all allowed be built right in front of us because we have still elected these same people to office. Even the Republicans who are big business like McConnell and all these people, they're still basically draining us and wanting us dependent on a system. We need to get rid of all that, drain the swamp, and have better leaders. Guys, thank you for watching. God bless.